Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Gripe, the show for short, sweet reviews of new release movies, plus the one thing that annoyed me the most. And today I'm going to be talking about the summer comedy smash Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates. So, the movie, just kind of in a nutshell, is based on real people, whether or not any of the events in this movie actually took place, with the exception of maybe the using a Craigslist ad to look for dates to a wedding. Most of it you can question is probably not true. So, obviously, we're taking the entire movie with a grain of salt. But given that the lead actors are Zac Efron and Adam Devine, however you say it, either way, that guy from Workaholics, you know it's probably going to be a pretty raunchy comedy, especially when you throw in Aubrey Plaza and Anna Kendrick in there just for some good measure. So, basic plot of the story, as I said, these two guys, basically these brothers, the Stengel brothers, they're parents say that in order for them to attend their little sister's wedding, they have to bring dates, because every time they go stag to family functions, something goes wrong, whether it's blowing up an RV or knocking out a girl off of a roof and having her fall on a trampoline. So, pretty much if you've seen the previews, then that is the setup for the movie. In fact, I'll get to that in a minute. But their best idea is, okay, so if we're going to try to find dates, where do we go? And their solution is Craigslist. So they decided to put out an ad on Craigslist basically saying looking for two girls for a full paid vacation to Hawaii, where they're going to attend their sister's wedding as their dates. And these two girls who are basically broke and kind of out of luck and sort of, just grungy girls to begin with, played by Anna Kendrick and Aubrey Plaza, they're basically trying to find a way to, make themselves feel better because they just lost her job. Anna Kendrick's character just got left at the altar, so she's feeling down in the dumps. So they're like, we're going to take advantage of this opportunity, and we're going to, convince these guys to take us to Hawaii. So that's their plan. And they do exactly that. And so they take these two girls to Hawaii. They kind of think they're hitting it off, but the reality is, especially Aubrey Plaza's character, she's kind of playing them a little bit, while Anna Kendrick's character is, she's not very good at lying, so she's just trying to go with it, but she and Zac Efron kind of form this little bit of a, budding romance. But as they, they go through their events, at this, pre-wedding, whether it's, going ATVing in the Jurassic Park filming location, or just swimming, or in the case of, the spa day, getting basically the massage by the guy from Silicon Valley, Kumail Nanjiani. I can never pronounce his name right. Kumail Nanjiani. Guy's funny as hell. But either way, they basically discover, okay, that these two girls, they're playing them, but at the same time, they realize that they do ruin everything, so in the end they try to make everything right. After completely screwing everything up, then they come back and say, okay, we're going to make this right, we're going to make sure our sister has a happy wedding, and thus ends the movie. Pretty standard in terms of comedy. The plot is as predictable as it comes, and the jokes and all that are very much in our modern times. There's very little in this movie that is subtle. In fact, even a lot of just like the normal conversation between two people, the jokes that they make are far from subtle. It's, just very, it's that kind of, like Parks and Rec type of, banter between people where, they just kind of say something and keep talking, make references to movies. This is what comedy is right now. The most popular or the most outrageous comedies all fall into this same kind of category. The Seth Rogen movies of the world, the James Francos, now the we could put Zac Efron into that bucket, because this is the third movie he's been in this year that's like this. So we might as well just dump him into this bucket as well, of these movies that are meant to be outrageous and over the top and just like hit you with these really like grotesque kind of jokes, but at the same time, it's meant to just be super funny. So is there any value though in this movie? So I'm going to go back to kind of my first point of how the fact that I was trying to explain the movie and said, well, if you'd seen the preview, you kind of know the setup. They give the entire first half of the movie away in the preview, including a lot of the, hit 'em jokes. The first half of this movie tries way too hard. It tries so hard to be rude and outrageous and funny, and it lands flat more times than anything else. They try to hook you early with just these stupid jokes and really get you going, but at the same time they don't really develop the characters at all that way. It's just kind of like, this is this character, and this is what you're going to get for the first half of the movie. Now there's kind of a little bit of a shift in the middle of the movie and towards the end. Doesn't necessarily make it better, but it does give the characters a little bit more of, it does add a little bit to who the characters are, just I don't think enough to make you care about any of them. I mean, don't get me wrong, I laughed a lot, and there were a few times where I was, my sides were hurting. It was that funny. But there were other times where I'm like, ugh, that was a really poor landing for that joke. Or if they're trying to make a joke there, that is just pushing way too hard to do so. And it's kind of indicative of these types of comedies is, if it doesn't flow naturally, if it's not improvised, which, a lot of comedy today is. I mean, they do, it's just like they're going to improv their lines. If it's not improvised, then chances are it's going to be somewhat of a reach, or that it's going to be too cautious, and when it is too cautious, it just doesn't work. It's like, it might have worked 5 years ago, but today, in order to get a real strong laugh out of people, you have to do something that's just completely outrageous and completely offensive. That's the only way to do it. And I'm not saying that's a problem. Some people certainly hate that, and they decry the state of comedy today. I certainly wish that, there'd be more Marx Brothers type of comedic acts today, but at the same time, this is what we have, so I'm going to try to enjoy it as much as I can. And this movie does have quite a few enjoyable moments. Like I said, the scene with Kumail Nanjiani, that guy is hilarious just as an actor, but also in the scene he plays a masseuse who basically does the massaging entirely with his naked body. And it's, oh my god, it is just a riot what he does with that. And he doesn't even have to do much. It's just entirely moving with his body and saying these just kind of random, kind of meditative things. Sometimes, it doesn't even have anything to do with what he's doing. It's just the things he's saying and how he's doing it. It's hilarious. Now they throw in some scenes of, so the actress who plays the bride in this movie, Sugar Lynn Beard. Wow, that's a weird name. She, her facial expressions during this whole thing are so, cartoonish and over the top. It almost ruins that scene, which, I felt, it's like, I was sort of, torn over it because it's such, what Kumail Nanjiani was doing was so good, and then what she was doing was so bad. It was really hard to, enjoy that scene. And that's kind of the way a lot of these comedies are, is, there's something that is just outrageously funny, great, humorous, really makes you feel like laughing really hard, and then you get something that is so just cartoonish and sluggish and forced that you're like, I don't know if I should be laughing or just There's a few moments of that movie, especially in the first half of this movie, where, they're like, they're on Wendy Williams explaining their situation, and they're dancing and stuff like that. I don't know if that's supposed to be funny. I know it's supposed to just be, cute and adorable and weird and quirky and all that, but it doesn't necessarily come off as funny. It just comes off as, so you've got a camera on you, so you need to do something, so do it. And that's, kind of the way Adam Devine is. Everything that he does is kind of the, I remember there was an episode of Community that he was on that was, I know that it was supposed to be funny, but it wasn't. The stuff he said was funny, but the way he acted was not. It was almost like I want to laugh at you, but I also want to laugh at you, insultingly, because you're bad at acting. So it's and you get that a few times in this movie. When you have actors like Zac Efron and Adam Devine actually leading the movie, for one, you're not going to get and you're not going to get an exceptional comedy. You're going to get pretty base comedy, which, as said, Zac Efron, this is the third comedy he's been in this year, and with movies like Dirty Grandpa, realistically, he's played the same character in all three of these movies. The only difference is the name and slight tweaks to his personality. But in every single movie, he plays the exact same guy. A very confused bro who, is got very great pecs, and he does have great pecs. But I digress. The cast is pretty much, the B-list cast. You've got Stephen Root, showing up there. Sam Richardson plays the groom in this situation, who he's actually one of the shining points of this movie in terms of his character. He's throughout the movie you don't get much from him, but whenever he is on screen, he's like darn it to heck kind of stuff. I mean, he's just one of those they make the case that he's too boring, which is why she starts the bride starts to doubt whether or not she even wants to marry him. But it's also that kind of cute boring. I mean, it's cartoonish in a way, but it's also kind of cute, and the way Sam Richardson plays it is actually really funny. And then, his best man is played by Lavelle Crawford, who just seeing him again brings a smile to my face, because he was in Breaking Bad as Huel, Saul's bodyguard, basically, the overweight bodyguard who never actually did anything. He basically just sat there and breathed. And then at the end of the series, they basically leave you with this open door of what happened to Huel, and it's just you feel so bad because he's not a bad dude. He just was who's such a weird character, but in this movie he kind of takes a little bit of that, but actually acts a little bit more. So he was pretty funny. Alice Wetterlund played the cousin, the bisexual cousin, who was hitting on Adam Devine's date, basically. So she was hitting on Aubrey Plaza's character, and there's a great scene with them in a steam room that it kind of sums up how these movies progress. There's always there's the first act is the setup, the last act is the fix and the happy ending. The middle act is where all the action happens, and this movie is no exception. The middle act is where everything that was funny happened. So the massage scene, the scene in the steam room, the ATV scene. That's when all the good stuff happened. That's the meat and potatoes of the movie, which is what it should be in a comedy. I mean, if you go by comedies, that's typically where the good stuff happens. The question is, can you stick the landing at the end? And in this case, I'd say they did not. I don't like movies that end on a musical number, in a sense. We got to do a dance, a song, do that kind of thing to send it out. It's let's do the rock star ending. No, that doesn't work for me. It just, again, feels forced. It's one of those things that it's they're trying to just feed the narrative that we normally get from comedies and say, this is how it ends. We're going to end it with a song. Yay, everybody! Fireworks, explosions, end of the movie. It's basically, if Star Wars movies ended with a musical number, this would be it. So, my key gripe, I have a few gripes with this movie, but I'd say my key gripe with this movie is just the lack of, I guess the best way to say it is the lack of originality in terms of trying to set this movie up, because like I said, the first half of this movie is so forced, even to the point where it's okay, it's almost like you're parodying comedy, which is amazing to do in first place, but it doesn't make you laugh. I guess a parody of comedy is kind of boring or dull, which is exactly what this was. When the first started, it's we need dates. Let's check Craigslist. Yes, of course, because nothing bad can come out of Craigslist. It's a girl gets hit by a car. I'll save her life. It's so just manufactured. And then, what I really don't like is when they manufacture something out of a situation that is so obviously a setup. When Aubrey Plaza's character and Anna Kendrick's character show up and they're telling us, what do you do? It's oh, I'm a teacher. It's okay, that one you could probably, BS your way through. But then Anna Kendrick's character says, oh, I'm a hedge fund manager. I manage hedges and funds and all that. I mean, what she says is so bad, and both of them are just like, yeah, no, totally, yeah. I mean, it's like, I know movies are not supposed to necessarily be reality, but there are times where it's like a little bit of believability might help the credibility of the scene. And in this case, they did not give us any kind of credibility, because it's like, when she's just talking about this, it's like, the whole point here is to, make them buy into this lie, but what they're buying into a really bad lie. And that kind of lazy setup is just like, okay, here we're throwing you the setup. This is the basic exposition for the story. This is where we go into now we get into the just ridiculousness of the movie, which is what people came to see. That's what they wanted to see, was all the outrageous stuff. That's what you really want to see in these comedies. This is why a movie like The Hangover worked so well, because The Hangover took out a lot of that like forced setup. I mean, it did have a little bit, but I mean, to the extent of a movie like this where it's just so manufactured. Whereas with The Hangover, it's like, okay, at least they're like, they know each other, they're going to Vegas, they set it up, and then the aftermath, investigating the aftermath of what happened is what makes that movie great. And I'm not trying to say that this, trying to directly compare this to The Hangover, but it's like comedies could learn more from the original Hangover and how that movie functioned narratively versus something like this, that they try so hard to make this ridiculous setup believable that it becomes unbelievable. They try to just like say, oh yeah, I totally believe that this nonsense that you're spitting out makes sense. Oh, it's because I'm stupid. That's a terrible terrible way to set up a story, and I don't think it worked out well. So my key gripe is definitely, I'm just going to say the first half of this movie is my key gripe. It was very poorly done, and it definitely did not give the movie a lot of cohesion, so that in the end, when it's like, you lied to me, and there's no weight to that, there's no like actual betrayal, it's like, you were too stupid to buy into what was already really ridiculous. I have no sympathy for you at all. And when they try to add a little bit of dramatic weight into the end with like, oh man, I screwed up, it just falls flat. But again, that's because this movie definitely does not try to be a drama at any point. They just try to minimize the outrageousness for brief periods of time between what is clearly incredibly outrageous. So my rating for this movie is 5.5 out of 10. So probably would not recommend it in theaters. Definitely watch it on Redbox just to see if you can get some of those outrageous jokes. But otherwise, probably would skip it. Because it did have some very funny stuff by some very funny people, but ultimately it fell very flat, like soda that's been sitting in the sun for a week and a half. So that's my review of Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates. So comment below if you agree, disagree, if you liked it, if you really hated it, let me know. Certainly like to have that discussion. So that's my review, and thanks for watching Key Gripe. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.